The funny thing is, when I make a tutorial video, first I go on YouTube and I look to see if anybody else has made a video like what I'm going to be making here, and I couldn't find anything, and I thought, you know, why not make a video, and you know, if someone like me, who is by no means a man of financial, you know, means, buys an older car with a wood steering wheel, a sporty steering wheel like this Moto Lita wheel. It's like a metal frame, and then it has the laminated top and bottom. Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to move the camera closer up on here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip all the old deteriorated finish and off of this, which is like some of it's all like cracked and all that. And some of you purists out there, you know, it's like you ever watch like those shows like Antique Roadshow. Oh, talk about the patina of something. Well, I couldn't care less about the patina. It's like I bought this car and I'm putting work into it, and I'm going to spend a lot of time hopefully enjoying this car, and I don't want to be holding some old, you know, crumbling, you know, finished steering wheel where I can hopefully, with some, you know, halfway decent TLC here, make this look almost as new. And I know for a fact a new one like this would go for over $300. So for a fraction of that, I'm going to refinish it, and I'm going to show you the wheel up close here and show you what I bought. I spent about $40 at the hardware store, right, which is a stone's throw for me. I probably didn't need to spend that much. Some of the stuff I already had, I think. But with no further ado, let me give you a close-up of what I got. Like I said, I went to the hardware store and I spent about $40 on this stuff. I talked to one of the guys, the clerks. I just ended up buying this basic kind of bristle brush. He said it's adequate for what I need. I didn't need some really fancy, you know, super fine, you know, brush for whatever, for applying the finish. I bought these like pads. They're like a sponge kind of pad, so it should be easy to, you know, conform to the little front and back, the curves or whatever, without taking off too much of the wood or whatever. And then for like in between coats of the finish, I bought this stuff. Hopefully this will like smooth the finish in between coats, so that a subsequent coats will stick. Same thing with the sandpaper. This is tack cloth, so you want to remove any dust and stuff in between coats, whatever. This is paint thinner, which is supposed to be good for cleaning the brush for this kind of polyurethane clear gloss finish here, and masking tape for masking off the metal parts. To show you the wheel here, metal parts are pretty good. I have some non-abrasive kind of stuff that will, you know, remove all this, whatever this stuff is. This is like the trim ring too. This goes over the top of here. The actual back, actually the back is not too bad. I mean, you get a good look at it there. It's the front that is really in sad condition. I actually took a sponge, and I actually kind of sanded some of this right away just to get an idea, and I did over here just to see. But you get an idea how, maybe I can show you in the light here, you know, how this looks. It's definitely aged. I mean, it's been probably decades of wear. See that there? I'll show you in the light here better. But yeah, anything would be an improvement with this. Here's another one, see there. And now I know when I go over this with the abrasives, this is kind of gonna scratch the metal, but it can't really be avoided. I mean, I can't really mask that off, I don't think, or try to. And I'm just gonna, I mean, you can see where there is like old finish there. There's still kind of flaking off there. But
I just want to show you, if I can just get in the frickin' light here. Oh, jeez. I'm under a light here. And, but you get the idea, I guess. It just looks pretty bad, and the car I have has like these kind of cosmetic walnut panels on the dashboard that that kind of will match the wheel, or matched the wheel. But so that's kind of like the before look of the wheel there. Okay, about an hour later, and a lot of elbow grease, I've sanded this down to where I'm pretty much satisfied, where I think it's prepped well enough to start adding coats of my finish. Something I should have done, and I didn't do it until I was well into doing this, I should have masked this off a little sooner, because now I put a few marks or scratches in there, but I'm not too concerned about that. I may try to polish that out later or whatever. I was even toying with the idea of taking doing like a turning thing, where you take like a pencil eraser and you kind of like, you put it in like a drill press and you kind of like make a pattern or whatever of swirls or whatever. I'm thinking of that, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it. You gotta remember, I'm just doing something on a shoestring here. So, and as far as the back goes, the back really didn't need that much. I mean, I roughed it up enough so that it's gonna take a couple coats of finish here, but I'm not nearly as concerned with the back as the front, because the front was really in really bad shape, especially the edges along the outer edges here. I had to really use a lot of elbow grease. In fact, couple areas here, I don't know if that was there already. You can see that top lamination, how it narrows there, and also here. But I got it pretty nice and smooth. Actually, I just washed my hands too. You do something like this, you don't want your oily hands to touch this right before you're going to do your finishing. I run over it, or I'll go over it again with a little tack cloth to get the dust off, whatever. But I'm right now. I'm going to do my put my first coat or two of finish on here. Okay, I just applied the first coat here, and you can get an idea, just a floor gleam, of how much better this looks. I mean, most of this first coat obviously is going to kind of like soak into the grain, but maybe you can get an idea. Maybe it looks as good on video as what I'm eyeballing here. You can see how the grain kind of like snaps out there. Really, the beautiful laminations there of the wood coming through there. And at least now it's smooth. I mean, you can kind of see the grain, but it looks rough, but it's actually smooth. And like I said, that first finish or first coat or two is going to soak in there. And when I sanded, also I was able to remove a lot of this. I don't know what this stuff was, if it was some kind of protective stuff or whatever on this metal. I was able to get that all off. That actually took a lot of effort. I had to go down to like 60 grit in some areas to get that. So, but I figure I'm going to have to put at least maybe 3 coats, or I'm going to put as many coats on here as will satisfy me, because I want it to have a nice smooth feel when I hold the steering wheel. So maybe a few coats later you'll see the finished product. Okay, just to see or show you where I stand here, I think I just added I've even lost track how many coats I've added. I think this is my 5th coat here, and being that the back was all relatively finished, I didn't really sand it thoroughly down before I started my process. I haven't really had to add much. What I find though, that this finish is a lot thinner than I thought it would be. So when I have been applying my coats, I have to be careful about runs, drips, dripping down the side. So what I've been doing, I apply to the top, and the part I really want to seal are like all these pores on that edge, that upper edge there. And I think in what I'm going to end up doing, I'm not going to end up completely filling every little pore, but in between coats, like I said, I rough it up with this. I don't apply too much pressure, but I'm pretty happy with the results so far. I might add maybe just one more coat, and then I'll consider it finished. But what I've been doing now, when I apply a coat, I'll put it on one side, hoping that the any excess will kind of like run down to the edge that I really want to cover, and then I'll kind of like alternate it. Whoops, sure didn't want to do that. So I mean, it's not going to be as perfect as a brand new wheel, but I gotta say, it looks way better than what it was. So maybe the next shot I'll show you, I'll consider it done after this. But like what I'm saying is, I'm kind of like alternating it, and each coat is supposed to dry within like 3 to 4 hours before you add a new coat. But for permanent, after the last coat or whatever, you're supposed to really let it dry for 24 hours before you really want to touch it or whatever regularly, or install it back on the car. So that's where we stand. Okay, gang, I've added, I think, my last coat, and I let it dry for about 4 hours. And what I had done, I had gone over this a little more evenly with the kind of like a last surfacing with this, because I noticed when I added, it's like the more coats I was adding, the more kind of plasticky the surface was looking, and drips were starting to kind of like show, or unevenness. And I don't want that kind of look, but I still want a kind of a gloss look. So I went over it just enough to kind of dull the surface, but to smooth it out, and there's still going to be a kind of a gloss finish, especially on the back there. But I think what I'm going to do now I'm going to let it really cure for like 24 hours, and I think I'm going to go back to the hardware store, and I'm going to get some, and I think they still make like a paste wax for wood, for furniture or whatever, and I'm going to rub that in, and then I'm going to consider it done. I'm also going to kind of polish this a little bit, or hopefully I can kind of remove some of these little marks, but not overly concerned with that. But otherwise, I think it's going to be done. Oh, another thing I'm going to do, I had the hardware I had for attaching the wheel, some of the screws were kind of gouged up, and they were kind of like slotted screws. I'm going to look for some kind of like Allen head countersunk screws. I think they look a little better when I do attach the wheel on. So maybe the next scene I'll have that stuff. Okay, gang, I'm just going to show you a final shot, and I'm going to say, well, from the last scene, I decided, instead of buying some, kind of paste wax that I don't really need that much of, I decided to use this, and I like to use this a lot, and I just lightly rub some on there, and you can see the gloss really comes back great. And the nice thing about that, you can always like reapply it, regularly to keep the preserving effects. And I use my this kind of polish. I mean, it isn't really that abrasive. It says it's perfect for all metals, and this isn't perfect, but I was able to kind of deep clean, although I still have a little bit of junk there, but I was able to polish the trim ring and the spokes, although like I said, I still have a few scratches, but I'm gonna live with that. What the hey. So but yeah, look at how great that looks now, and it's nice and smooth, so it's not gonna and one thing I didn't really thoroughly explain, Yeah, I said I said that the old finish was like chipped and stuff, but not only was the old finish deteriorated and chipped away, some of the wood underneath was like discolored because it had been exposed to the elements. So I had to, in some sections of the top here, I had to really deep sand some of that away. But like you see, the original color of the wood is even now, and it's going to look really nice on the car, back on the car. So with that, thanks. You know, like all my videos, they kind of go a little longer than I intend, but I like to be thorough in what I talk about here. So, and it's something anybody can do. You don't have to be an expert or whatever. So with that, thanks for watching. And if you have some kind of vintage car, sports car with a wheel like this and it's in poor shape, you know, you got nothing to lose by trying to recondition it. So bye for now, and happy motoring. I know I really enjoy holding this wheel now. You know, hopefully the car that goes with it will be reliable. So thanks a lot, and bye for now.